The United States government estimates that to date, approximately 500,000 soldiers in the Ukrainian and Russian armies have been killed or wounded on the battlefield. Surprisingly, the actual numbers are certainly much higher, as both countries are known to deliberately undercount their losses. Unfortunately, these figures do not include thousands of Ukrainian civilians killed or the millions who fled country. All this begs question: do those who call for Ukraine to continually march into teeth of Russian war machine have in mind maximum number of Ukrainians to be dead before they say, maybe we should rethink our strategy? Many on the left seem to oppose such terrible wars. For example, let's say in March 2003, many on left at the time were calling for President George W. Bush and his fellow defenders to invade Iraq to overthrow evil Saddam Hussein, because they saw this process as a wrong, cold and selfish kind of game or sporting event. Voluntary sacrifice of human pawns. These civilians, experts affiliated with Bush had no role game, as they were not in the military and would not be a walking point coming war, nor would they have children. Some of those pushing for this war were sitting in luxury offices atop 6 or even 7-figure financial platforms, thousands of miles away from the horrors that awaited, while their privileged and luxurious lives continue uninterrupted. History reminds us that the war with Iraq resulted in a very heavy price in terms of lost human lives. About 4,500 American soldiers were killed, 32,000 injured, between 100,000 and 400,000 Iraqi deaths depending on the study, and an unstable Middle East to this day. Could the U.S. war with Iraq have been prevented? Could most of the lives lost be saved? Could war in Ukraine have been avoided in the first few months of conflict? Or at least a ceasefire negotiated? Some believe it. Unfortunately, many on left-right have successfully tagged those question America's policy towards war in Ukraine. Those who warn it may trigger Third World War. Or those say that hundreds of thousands of men, women and children killed in conflict are Putin Russia lovers. Will they now reassess the strategy of fighting these last death counts to the last Ukrainian? This battle is not a board game or an academic exercise. Like any war, this one represents the obscene of human hopes, dreams and futures. Almost all of those who drag a nation to war are from the privileged class. Almost all of those who win these wars came from the lower class. They are either drafted or looking for a way to improve their own and their families' lives. Ukrainian, Russian, American, Chinese, Canadian, French, British, Israeli or Palestinian. It will always be young man who dies or loses limbs because someone from the privileged class writes a white paper, draws line in the sand. Wanting to do it, he wanted build nation. To dispel a grudge, or take advantage of military-industrial compel.